Welcome back to the Vikings Playbook. And this week we have with us a great guest. But before I introduce that, I do want to make mention of the podcast we had last Saturday. So last Saturday, what I did is I had the interview that I did on February 18th with Chuck Foreman, Minnesota Vikings legend. He was a 1973 NFL Rookie of the Year. Please go on Vikes Playbook on YouTube. Subscribe, but also check out that podcast. And also, Vikings fans, please help me and help Chuck Foreman, which it's a crime he's not already in the Hall of Fame. But as Vikings fans, let's try to get the word out, push this to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and get somebody who's definitely deserving that should be in the Hall of Fame in there. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and welcome onto the stage our guest for today. And you know him because you've seen him before here on this podcast. It's Dustin Baker, editor over at Vikings Territory. If you're not already following him on social media, he's at Dust Baker. And you can also follow Vikings Territory at Viking Territory. And then also vikingsterritory.com is their website. And don't forget that Dustin has a book out, and he has another one that's going to be coming out as well, too, that he'll talk about here in just a second. It's $14.99. Get it on Amazon. It's one of those suspenseful type books that he has. And without any further ado, I'm going to welcome onto the stage with me, Dustin Baker. Dustin, how are we doing today?
Well, I'm fantastic. If you are into the offseason puzzle, the way the Vikings are going to be constructed, this is like the most exciting build-up anticipation weekend of the year. And then Monday and Tuesday are really go time. Of course, the draft has its own little section. But in terms of player movement around the NFL, it gets no busier than this. And don't let the term legal tampering, make you feel like nothing's going to happen. I'm not kidding. 11 a.m. Monday, everything starts. Like, don't expect anything around 10 a.m. At 11 a.m. Central Time, all the movement starts. And we think now the Vikings will be involved a little bit because they cleared a bunch of cap space.
They did. They made a lot of moves. This is a very exciting time of the year leading into free agency. And then a month later, we got the draft. So a lot of things that are happening. So even though we're not playing games, there's still a lot of things for you to be excited or even just involved in the off season right about this time in March and in April. And as always, Vikings Playbook, your Sunday starts here. If you're not already following us on X, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, please make sure that you do that. We've had some struggles and some issues with X. So again, hopefully if you weren't able to see our X post, you're already following us here on YouTube, but make sure that you send your comments or questions. Go ahead and just put them in the comments, and Dustin and I will be more than glad to answer them as best as we possibly can. So go ahead and throw those in there. And you said you had another book last time we had you on. When is that going to be coming out, and what's the name of it again, Dustin?
It is called The Invaders. It's about a home invasion, and then the invaders have a mission, believe it or not, for the people that they are invading. It's kind of governmental thriller, and that should be out, I'm guessing, about 2 weeks. It's been done for about a month. I have a couple people doing a final proofread for me. I am personally already on to book number 3. I got about 12,000 words deep in that, so probably 2-3 months to go on book number 3. First one is called The Motor Out. That was my maiden voyage effort. You can also get the ebook. I think it's $3 on Amazon if you're into that style reading. A lot of folks are. But yeah, thanks for propping up those books for me. It's my new thing. I'm writing 2 fiction books per year until I die, and hopefully somebody will discover them sometime in 2080 and be like, this dude had some talent.
Absolutely. And you are a talented writer. You're out there every day on Vikings Territory, always pumping out articles. And if you're not already checking them out, please make sure that you go ahead and see what Dustin's writing over there on Vikings Territory. And do the same for us over at Purple PTSD. We're the sister website with Vikings Territory. And just go ahead and check it out, purpleptsd.com. Check out what I'm writing and the rest of our talented writers over there at purpleptsd.com and, of course, vikingsterritory.com. All right, Norsefius, I appreciate you and Six Shooter Nation. I see you guys already active in the comments, and Six Shooter says, I love me some Dustin Baker. So, you got a fan out there, of course, and, that's awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate you guys being active and watching the show and subscribing. And then, of course, the support that we have for Dustin on there, too. One of the very first topics we got to get to, because it's probably going to be coming out here sooner than later, here this next week. And that, of course, is going to be Kyler Murray. So as far as quarterbacks go, Kyler Murray right now is leading the pack. And here's, if you follow anything in the post that at least you're seeing, I'm not saying you're betting, Dustin, but Polymarket right now is saying, hey, Minnesota Vikings, right now it's up to, 82% for Kyler Murray as far as where he's going to play next season. New York Jets is the second one. I also heard the Colts was another rumor that's going on as well, too, that I think major media was trying to push, but it's overwhelmingly right now that he is supposed to play here in Minnesota. And with that, what are your thoughts on, is it smoke? Is it fire? What is your feeling? Because the way that I'm seeing it now, I mean, I think I've just kind of accepted that this is going to happen here this week.
Yeah, I have been on this theory since like Thanksgiving. Like from the day the Vikings lost at Seattle and looked like total imbeciles, it felt like we hit rock bottom. And I think like a week prior, Kyler had been softly benched, and it seemed like they were done with him. I kept thinking if McCarthy doesn't stay healthy or he doesn't fundamentally turn it around, he did a little bit, but if we don't have a clear outlook with McCarthy, all roads lead to Kyler Murray. I have said that now since
you have
4 months, and it's because like I thought he would be able to be. You could get him for a third or fourth rounder via trade, which I would have been okay with. Let alone the fact that he's released now, or going to be formally released on Wednesday. Every team in the NFL should call his agent. Like the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen should sign Kyler Murray for $1.3 million. Like there is no better value in sports right now than getting that guy for $1.3 million. Now, he's going to have the pick of the litter to say, you know what? I'm going to go to any team that I want because I have that grace right now to prove it. Now he's going to want to go to a team where he can play. And I think that Colts thing came about, I think it was from Albert Breer or one of those SI.com guys. That makes sense if there are like hurdles between Daniel Jones and the Colts.
Or concerns about his health.
Yeah, then Kyler there does make a lot of sense. Otherwise, it's down to your usual suspects, the Steelers, the Dolphins. Can't go back to the Cardinals now, who need a quarterback, by the way. And then the Vikings have their own little island. And this guy grew up as a Vikings fan. Not like, hey, right. I wonder if he liked the Vikings. He seems like he liked. No, he has said numerous times that he was a Vikings fan. You have a defense that is top 3 in the NFL and has been that way in the last 2 seasons. So the defense is already established. He's never had that type of defense in Arizona.
Very
you have
true.
Justin Jefferson. We've already seen like footage of them looking to be buddies. And then you have I still call him a quarterback whisperer. It's really bizarre that the quarterback whisperer couldn't whisper to the one guy that he picked from the draft. But you have a guy who has a track record of really empowering quarterbacks like Sam Darnold. All of those factors, I think, really pump up the Poly market or Kalshi, whichever screenshot that was. And I've kind of accepted it's going to be Kyler now for about a week. That if it's not, I'm going to be disappointed. Like if I hear that, oh my gosh, they're trading for Mac Jones instead. They're trading Jonathan Grenard for Mac Jones. I'm going to be like, shit, we could have just had Kyler. I don't want to get rid of Grenard. That's where I'm at. I am already thinking of Kyler Murray as if he's the Vikings quarterback. Like I think about any player that I like, am a fan of. I'll be let down if it's not because of the value. And I will admit he's not a dream Kevin O'Connell quarterback, but who cares? Like if you have 4.38 speed, Kyler Murray is faster than Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, believe it or not. You can throw the ball 65, 70 yards, and you're the 5th most accurate quarterback of all time. And not an exaggeration. You should be able to tweak your offense to accommodate a guy like that who's going to cost you 1.3 mil. So that is my long Murray speech. I expect it to happen. Going to be disappointed if it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just expected at this point, like you said, and it would be interesting to see someone else kind of come and kind of take that over, it being that he's, pretty much the favorite out of everyone that's out there. Skull State of Mind, thanks for joining us as well. And just those of you that are joining on here, shout out for Demetrius Underwood. can we just get a quick poll in the comments? What do you guys think? Kyler Murray coming, I think it's going to be exciting if he's a Minnesota Viking. As far as the offensive fit, I think there's some struggles where Kevin O'Connell, he's going to have to adjust a little bit to make it work. But he does have the ability with his body to get outside the pocket, extend plays, and give wide receivers second routes opportunity. And that allows us to possibly come up with a lot more big plays. And the fact that he could get first downs with his feet, he's been doing it for a while, and he's improved on his, not only his completion percentage, but also his turnover ratio as well too. So that's gotten a little bit better too over the years. So that is one thing where, I think last time when we talked about Kyler Murray, I'll be honest, I wasn't on the Kyler Murray boat. The more and more I think about it, especially now that he's been released. When it was a trade scenario, I absolutely not. Now that he's been released, I'm warmed up to it. For a veteran minimum 1.3 mil, what's there to lose? He comes into camp. Let's just say, that happens and he starts this year. JJ gets another year to sit, learn, be pushed, whatever that it looks like. And we get a year to see what it looks like with Kyler Murray. And if it doesn't work out, it was 1 year and it was 1.3 million. We're not on the hook after that. JJ got a little bit of time to mature, and we can either decide we want to stay with Kyler Murray because, hey, it worked out, it was great, or we have a question again. Is JJ ready, or are we moving on? So it does gives us some more options, and just there's some excitement because with Kyler, you do not know on any given snap what's going to happen because he can make plays out of nothing. He's a little bit of a magician, if you will, because of what he can do athletically. So I think one of the struggles he has is sometimes with the deep ball. But other than that, throwing on the run, that's been one of his fortes. And I think Kyler Murray's show is going to be exciting for 26. And I fully expect it to happen come next week.
Yeah, my final small quote on this is if Sam Darnold could do it to totally reclaim his career, if Baker Mayfield could do it, I know Kyler Murray could do it. When we took on Sam Darnold in 2024 on that small contract, he was starting from ground zero as a bust. Kyler Murray is starting from pretty good. He's a pretty good quarterback. He has a better career-long EPA CPOE than Trevor Lawrence, than Baker Mayfield, and CJ Stroud. So it's not like we're getting this idiot. In January, there were people that were talking about Kyler Murray like the plague, like he was Josh Freeman or like he was Tim Tebow. Oh, it's not going to work. It's this guy's pretty good. Scaled to a 17-game season. He throws 4,000 passing yards and accounts for 30 total touchdowns. By the way, 600 rushing yards. This isn't a controversial thing. Even if you get to summer and he gets hurt or he plays too many video games or he's too short or he's too attitudinal, who cares? It was a $1.3 million flyer that you took. I personally think it's going to work fantastically. And at this time next year, we're talking about, God, how much is it going to cost to extend Kyler?
And there's been a lot that's been said as far as, yes, he had some of those issues early in his career, but he's matured since then to where he has been putting in, even though a lot of people want to make jabs at him, when he had the comment in his tweet thanking Arizona, hey, I didn't get it done. And, talking about his work ethic. But there's been some people that have came out in his defense saying that he has matured a lot since then. And that's, I forget who said it. I want to say it was on NFL Network saying that, just saying that he doesn't have good work ethic and the video games, that's just a lazy take. So again, talk is he's matured a lot since then, and we'll kind of see where that goes. Topic number 2 that I want to talk about: roster restructuring. Have we done enough? Well, we've kind of seen a lot of different moves that the Vikings have been making. We did $18 million from Justin Jefferson, $11.3 from Byron Murphy Jr. in restructure. We saved $10.9 million in the Hargrave release, $10 million from Kelly's retirement, $9.2 from Darrisaw's restructure, $7.8 from the Aaron Jones release, $6.5 million in the Allen release, and $5 million from the Hawk restructure that just happened today as well. And then we still don't know on Jonathan Grenard whether or not he's going to be traded. That could save another $12.3 million there. And then there is talks of Brian O'Neill possibly having an extension done that could clear up some more cap room as well. So, we're coming up to free agency. Obviously, we have some holes that we need to fill, especially from some of these releases that we've made with Hargrave and Allen both leaving on the inside defensive line. But with some of this restructuring and releasing, have we done enough to make the cap room that we need, not just for our free agents that are coming in here, hopefully on March 11th, but then also made the room for them and then our draft class that's going to be coming in?
For where we need to be right now before legal tampering, yes, they basically did everything we thought. Like down the line, I don't know, Steve, if you wrote like, here's what I would do in this offseason type article. But when you start one of those, you have to go through dudes that you would release, dudes that you would restructure. And these are all kind of no-brainers. The only wild card was the fact that Grenard could be traded. And I really hope they don't do that, because if you want to be a Super Bowl contender, usually you're not in the business of trading premium edge rushers. Like that's not something you typically do. In theory, you could get away with it because you have Dallas Turner, who we hope is sitting on another breakout, Andrew Van Ginkel, and then you'll need an OLB3 from somewhere, like from free agency, like Jadeveon Clowney or Joseph Asai or somebody like that. I don't know that Tyler Batty or Bo Richter are ready for OLB3 duty. Maybe not. So I would say that, yeah, I think the number's up to like 30, 35 million in the green. We've been staring at that bastard on over the cap that's like negative 45 in the red for like 6-7 weeks.
And it still won't update for me, but yes, I've been refreshing, trying to get the exact number.
The draft class, which is 6.5 weeks from now, that'll cost you between 10 and 14 million. We actually have draft picks this year, so it won't be cheap like last year.
Right.
But you can pull those levers. The extension on Brian O'Neill is fair, and I think he's out of guaranteed money. You could also, in theory, extend Grenard's contract and then make the 2026 cap hit tiny, and then push more of the money into the future. Those will be the last things that you do to make sure that you can sign a draft class when the time comes. And then I'm pretty sure it'll come out in the wash that TJ Hockenson took a legitimate pay cut, whereas all the other guys who did restructures, it was more just accounting. I think Hockenson had to come to the realization, many players before him have had the same thing, like, you're going to get cut. You ask your agent, how much am I going to be able to get on the open market? And the agent's like, 4 mil, 5 mil, something like that.
Well, I might as well just changing it. They ended up changing his contract where, so we saved $5 million, but now he's going to be a free agent now next year.
Is that what they did? Okay. Yep. Yeah, I've been off the grid a little bit. I was out bowling with my family and my brother. That makes sense. So now he'll be eligible for that. And that mean Kenyon Sadiq would still be in play for the Vikings if they're frisky at number 18. I don't think Hockenson back disqualifies that one bit, especially with the tidbit that you just informed me about. Right. So yeah, they have done enough. I don't think they're going to spend out the wazoo like last year when we had the tweets that said Will Fries, Bada Bing, Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, which now feel like, oh my God, what were they thinking? At the time, they felt, all right, we're doing something to build the trenches. I don't think we'll have mass spending. I think they'll target bargain bin guys. But curiously, right before I came on your show, one of my guys who I consider a source claims that the Vikings are in on Tyler Linderbaum and that his sweepstakes may be down to the Patriots, who just traded Garrett Bradbury. We know all about why. Or the Vikings. So I have operated under these last 2.5 months that Linderbaum is not something the Vikings could afford. But man, maybe they're clearing all that cap space for somebody like him. Linderbaum is going to sign with the team and be their center for the next decade. And he's already on a Hall of Fame course for his durability and his performance. That would just be remarkable if the Vikings could somehow be able to afford him.
Well, let's talk about the free agent frenzy. Now, we talked about Kyler Murray. Now, if you're going to bring in Kyler Murray, and again, he's going to run a little bit too. making sure that we solidify that center position is probably more important than ever, and making sure that we have a good run game and that we have offensive line depth. So I wrote an article because I do think that Blake Brandel could play and start at center. I think with a whole offseason to work on it in the little bit of time that he had to prepare and played this last season, I think that he could. Now, if we bring in a Tyler Linderbaum, I mean, obviously that's an upgrade, right? But do we have the money to spend on that and maybe fill some of the other holes? We'll see. I think that'd be great. But now these are just some of the lists that I pulled together as far as some of these free agents, and I'm just going to point out some of them that maybe stand out because they've either been mentioned with us or I think, hey, could be somebody that we're looking at because of the holes that we have. Just taking a look at it, running back is still a need that we have with the departure of Aaron Jones. So is it possible that we look at whether it be a Kenneth Walker, sounds like that's out there. Breece Hall, it kind of sounds like the Jets are going to hold on to him, being that they've tagged him and sounds like they're going to get a deal done there. But Travis Etienne Jr. is still out there. Rico Dowdle. Tyler Algier is getting out of Atlanta for the first time and kind of going to spread his wings, and that could be somebody who's out there. I don't know if I've seen enough of Rico to where, he had a stretch there where he was amazing, of course. But then he settled down, but just, are you willing to give him a bigger deal to come here? I still feel like he still needs something to prove. Rashad White's out there coming out of Tampa Bay. So could that be a thing too? As far as running backs, before we move to the wide receivers, anybody that stands out for you there? For me, Etienne Jr.
Yeah, Etienne would be my preferred get. Well, Breece Hall would, but he's not. He's going to be a Jet.
He's tagged. Right.
Yeah, Etienne would be my dream scenario here if they're willing to spend. I want them to draft a rookie running back. I've been saying that for years now. Since Dalvin Cook, we haven't drafted a good one, really good one in 9 years. Way too long of a drought. However, Travis Etienne is the best pass blocking running back in this group and probably like top 3 in the NFL. And we think we know that that's like a prerequisite for Kevin O'Connell's offense, especially when you have all the injuries in the offensive line like we did last year. On the other hand, he's going to be expensive. So if we think they're in play for Linderbaum and Etienne, I'll be blown away. The discount version of getting a pass blocking running back would be Kenneth Gainwell. And then in this scenario, you'd have Jordan Mason as your RB1 for however many weeks. Kenneth Gainwell basically playing the same role that he did in Pittsburgh. And then drafting a guy, whether it's Mike Washington, who had a fabulous combine, my guy Nick Singleton from Penn State. My preferred option is that you take a flyer on a running back in round 3 or round 4, and then get Kenneth Gainwell as RB2, and then Jordan Mason has already shown the pop to be pretty darn good. I think that threads the needle of a cash-strapped Vikings team right now.
Absolutely. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I still think regardless of what happens, whether we bring in a free agent running back, I still think that we're going to draft one regardless of what happens. Top wide receivers. And again, we still think that we will not have Jalen Nailor with this team. So that is another contract that's, going to be somewhere else, most likely. But again, did we clear enough space to keep Nailor here? I guess we'll have to see. But I mean, at least the chatter is he's going to leave. But if he does, is there somebody on this list that's maybe affordable? I think some of these guys are just not affordable for us. And the talk has been that the Vikings are looking for a different wide receiver that's a bigger type wide receiver to bring in here. I think some of these guys aren't going to want to sign here until they know who's going to be at quarterback.
Yes, if the reporting is correct, Jalen Nailor is going to get between 10 and 12 million. I don't want anything to do with that. The guy has never had over 500 receiving yards.
It's too much for a 3.
I've never seen him use his high-end speed like after the catch. Like I've never seen him break an 80-yard touchdown. And then for their first 2 years, he was just not a non-factor. So I like Jalen Nailor. It was awesome that he built immediate rapport with J.J. McCarthy, but I don't think he's worth the $12 million that some team might pay him. On this list, I am also operating under the idea they're going to have to sign somebody on a budget. I would say Christian Kirk as a WR3 would move the
Mm-hmm.
needle here. A lot of the first 4 or 5 guys will get somewhat handsome contracts. Also, if Kyler Murray is the guy, Hollywood Brown should be available for about $4 or $5 million, and I think those two are buddies from the Cardinals days. So Hollywood Brown would be an effective WR3. What we have to ask ourselves, and I don't think we will have this discussion until after the draft, at least amongst ourselves, is do we know that the Vikings know that Ty Felton was going to have an honest to goodness redshirt year? Was that the plan? If so, then he can be in the mix as a WR3. Right. If it was another moronic pick by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, and then he's just the special teams guy, then of course we need a WR3. And that's all on top of Jordan Addison getting arrested once per year and his contract, his 5th-year option coming up on May 1st. So we can't gloss over wide receiver and say we got Addison, we got Jefferson, we'll be fine, because Addison is a ginormous question mark whether or not he's a ticking time bomb to do something dumb, or the Vikings trade him or begin to pave the off ramp for him. So I think wide receiver is sneaky important, and the conversation starts at whether or not Ty Felton had a redshirt year and if he's salvageable as a WR3, and God forbid WR2 down the line.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with this wide receiver 3 position. So if Kyler Murray comes in, kind of an interesting storyline would be, and I don't know if he's got a lot left in the tank, but once upon a time ago, DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray were quite the duo in Arizona. Could some of that be rekindled, again, as a wide receiver 3 here in Minnesota in spots? That would be kind of cool, I think, too. Taking a look at safeties, that's another big position for us, and cornerbacks. Obviously on the defense, I think that's where we're going to see a lot of our targets in the first few rounds. And safety, same thing with wide receivers. I mean, a lot of these top level people we're just not going to be able to afford, but somebody that's a little bit lower, maybe like a Alohi Gilman, could be somebody that we're able to bring in. Same thing for the quarterbacks. We're probably not going to be able to bring in some of the high talent that's out there. And, some of those names I didn't even put on here because we just can't afford. We're not going to be able to bring them in. But, could we bring in somebody that's a little bit cheaper to come in and help us at that third cornerback position? We'll see. Any thoughts on the safety or cornerback position, or any of these names stand out to you?
Yes, it's time for the Vikings to plan for safety no matter what. If Harrison Smith comes back at 37, we have to expect that he'll be a situational guy. And maybe that's best for him. Maybe that's the compromise, the happy medium. Hey, come on back. You don't have to play 1,000 snaps. At safety, they either need to think about the draft with Dylan Thieneman, who's everybody's like cookie cutter Harrison Smith replacement. That would be kind of fun. A guy that I like who's not on this list is Nick Cross. He's a free agent from the Colts. Cameron Bynum basically took his job or his snaps. I think Nick Cross would cook with Brian Flores' style. There's also a dude who I expect the Vikings to sign if we were going to make predictions, named Andre Cisco. He crossed paths with Ryan Nielsen, who is now a Vikings defensive coach. I can't remember his exact job title, but Ryan Nielsen coordinated the Jaguars defense, and Andre Cisco was a safety on that team. So those are a couple safeties I'd look out for. In 2025, I tell you what, my friend, the Vikings got away with having a skinny cornerback room. Isaiah Rodgers and Byron Murphy played all 17 games, and we never had to sweat like, oh my God, looks like Fabian Moreau starting CB1 today. And I thought for sure there was going to be a couple weeks where that would happen. It never did. I think from this list, Trayvon Diggs has to reprove that he's good and healthy. That would make sense. Otherwise, due to that Ryan Nielsen connection, Monteric Brown, he played for the Jaguars when Ryan Nielsen ran that defense, I believe. And then remember last year, Asante Samuel Jr. came on, or was that free agent tour that he did. He stopped in Minnesota. He ended up with Pittsburgh, and his coach there was a guy named Gerald Alexander. That was the defensive passing game coordinator, and now he came to the Vikings to replace Durante Jones. So I think my big call is that the Vikings sign Asante Samuel Jr., for 2 years, $11 million, something like that. That would be what I have in mind. I think my dream scenario would be Tariq Woolen. He's huge, 6'4", like I think 215, 220.
I know. I didn't put him on this list just because, again, I think he's one of those guys with us having Murphy and Isaiah Rodgers, are we willing to pay another big contract at the quarterback spot to bring in here? I just don't know if we are.
His stock is so high because they just won a Super Bowl, so he has that high visibility.
Absolutely.
I will say, no matter if it's Rob Brzezinski or the next general manager, the Vikings are so overdue to hit on a cornerback. I'm not kidding. They've drafted like 8 straight that have not stuck around for after their rookie contract. I mean, some of them were tragic circumstances, but whether you're the general manager or some guy on this, somebody is due by complete probability standards to get a good cornerback for the Vikings because this is such a strange drought.
Yeah, I mean, probably the best one that we had that actually signed after the rookie contract was probably Rhodes.
Rhodes and Trey Waynes. We were spoiled. We didn't know it.
Did Wayne sign after his rookie contract for?
He went to the Bengals, but
right.
He was like.
But I don't know if he signed after the rookie.
Xavier Rhodes was so much in his prime that we kind of poo-pooed on Trey Waynes at time. Like, sure. Oh, he's not quite as good, but he was really good in retrospect. After what we've had and what we haven't been able to draft, like Mackenzie Alexander was decent. That was another one. But after that trio, I've come to realize that we had it pretty good with Zimmer at cornerback. But yeah, Lord knows that eventually we're going to draft one. I don't know if it's this time with Mansour Delane or Avian Terrell, who feels like the mock draft darling for the national media.
Right.
But the team they can't go into this year again with Jeff Okudah or something like that. I loved how Fabian Moreau held down CB3 last year. Nobody really even acknowledged him. But they're going to have to get at least one more guy. I don't think Zamiah Vaughn and Dwight McLaughlin can be trusted for the long haul.
All right, and linebacker, that's going to be Ivan Pace. Probably not going to be on this team. We're looking at Eric Wilson that we're trying to re-sign. Looks like we have a lead on that, but we're going to need some help at the linebacker position, whether that's through the draft. And I think free agency is going to be something where we're going to try to fill at least one of those spots. We could see somebody from this list come on. And then same thing with getting rid of, 2 more inside defensive linemen in Hargrave and Allen. Even though we were deep in that room, we got LDR, we got Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, on there, as well as Elijah Williams that so we have some names in there too, but I still think, and have you wrote your article yet? Which that we talked about? So. Oh, not yet. Well, one of the guys that I like, that I told you I did like, was John Franklin Myers. And I do like him. He's coming from the Broncos, and he's a name on there as far as a defensive lineman that he had 8 sacks last year, and he's good in the run game as well. He's a top 20 in pressures last year. This is a defensive lineman that I think you could come in and he can come in and be at least a solid starter for us as we can continue to rotate some of those other guys around in that third position. And, that's just my sights on that. Any quick comments that you have on linebackers or linemen?
I think they owe it to themselves to re-sign Eric Wilson. Even if it was a flash in the pan, you have to find out. Don't let him go to some other team and then be fantastic and have us all jealous about it. Leo Chenal has never played more than 500 defensive snaps in a single season. And every year he's pretty solid. He feels exactly like Harrison Phillips 5 years ago when Harrison Phillips just needed to get out of Buffalo to start. Harrison Phillips, who should still be on these Vikings. We wouldn't have the problem in the second column. I would say Leo Chenal makes sense. He's probably gettable for $5 or $6 million. And then at defensive tackle, I love that you have Christian Wilkins on here. Because if there's any team ever in the world to give him a shot at his redemption story, I mean, so long as he doesn't kiss guys in the locker room or whatever the hell happened, it would be the Vikings, because Brian Flores, that was his very first draft pick in Miami 7 years ago now, was Christian Wilkins. And just think, like, Christian Wilkins, I think, was near the top of our priority list in 2023 free agency, signed an enormous deal with the Raiders, and I think he's 30 years old now. If he's still in shape, I'm guessing he is. Oh man, it would be so fantastic to get him for 1 year, $3 million, and then he goes back to old Christian Wilkins because he has Brian Flores' tutelage. That would be a dream scenario. And I think Christian Wilkins, I've been advertising for a couple of months because he deserves one more shot, and why not with the guy that brought him into the NFL and Brian Flores?
Absolutely. Last one that I have for you that I'm looking for feedback before we go on to the next topic. We talked about Linderbaum already at center. That could be in play, for us too. There's maybe a couple other names that we take a look at as far as center goes, and then edge defender if we do trade Grenard. Like we talked about again with Batty being one of the few depth pieces that we have, and again he's still a young piece. But so not if we get rid of Grenard, a position that we were deep in now no longer looks all that deep. So whether we draft somebody or we take somebody as an edge defender in free agency, some of these guys could be in play. Kwity Paye was a guy that we liked not too long ago down the road. Dante Fowler Jr. coming from Jacksonville would be a nice little addition too, but are we really looking for somebody that's that high profile to come in here, or are we looking at somebody that's more of that number 3, like an Arden Key to come in here to help bolster that number 3 spot in the edge game?
Yeah, if we're forced to trade Jonathan Grenard, Micah Parsons makes $47 million per year, and Jonathan Grenard's making $19 million. So I think at the very minimum, Grenard needs to get up to 27, 28, even though he only had 3 sacks in 12 games. His agent's pressing for it.
Right.
If you get rid of Grenard, I think you're starting Andrew Van Ginkel and Dallas Turner. And then you just need a decent guy or two. And so we're talking that Arden Key type, or in years past from Vikings examples like DJ Wanham. So anybody on the Bradley Jubb's too good for that. I think Kwity Paye would be a cool get because he still has to prove himself, actually being pretty good compared to where he was drafted. You would basically need an OLB3 who can start if something happens to Van Ginkel or Turner. And then with Tyler Linderbaum, he is the prize. I was shocked when my source guy said that the Vikings are actually in play for him. It's like him, and then like the rest of these guys are decent consolations. Caden Mays would be pretty cool. He's still young. And then Luke Fortner, he's probably the one that could start that will be the cheapest, but is also pretty decent. I think you can get him for about $5 million. Thankfully, because Cushenberry's release, we had Tyler Biadasz, or however you say his name. He was available for a week or so. This position got deeper than we thought about a month ago. Otherwise, the draft has some fascinating names like Connor Liu, Jake Slaughter, and then the Coogan guy from Indiana.
Yeah, there are some good draft options, closer to like that 4th, 5th round that we could be looking at for the center position. Almost rounds 4 through 6 has some decent center options in this draft, I think. Very likely that we're able to pick somebody up. And like I said, I think Blake Brandel, if we wanted to roll with that, I think he can be a starter. I absolutely do. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our next topic that we have, and that's going to be Jonathan Grenard's trade scenarios. And I'm going to bring this up, and obviously you did a little bit of work on this because you had an article that you talked about Jonathan Grenard trade scenario. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This first one that you had was Washington Commanders. The Vikings get the 7th overall pick, and the Commanders would get the 18th pick in Jonathan Grenard. That was one of the options that you brought up. And go ahead. If you have comments on this one, tell us if you like this. All right. So that was the first one that you brought. The second one that you had was the Vikings get the 20th overall pick from the Cowboys and the 112th in round 4. The Cowboys get the 49th pick in round 2, and then they also get Jonathan Grenard. So that was another option that you gave us as well in one of your articles. And again, if you want to read more on this, go ahead and check this out on Vikings Territory for more on this article. And then the third option that you had was the Vikings trade with the San Francisco 49ers. We would get Mac Jones, and the 49ers get Jonathan Grenard. I'll be honest with you, this is the one that I like the least because I don't want to give up anything for Mac Jones, especially when we have Kyler Murray there for $1.3 million.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah. So, that's just one of those where, I think, I'm not saying it's horrible, but I don't like that one. I like the opportunity of possibly bringing in Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then, I got the wrong one here. Let me go ahead and bring in that last one. Sorry about that.
Yeah, the last one I actually had to switch because the Ravens were on my list, but then they got Max Crosby, so I had to switch it to another edge needy team, and that was the Patriots.
The Patriots. So, yeah, the Vikings get the 63rd overall pick in round 2, and then they get the 131st round pick in round 5, and the Ravens would get the Ravens.
Or I guess Patriots. Yeah.
Oh, the Patriots. So you had, no, that's all right. So, but again, these are the different ones. I think for me, I mean, obviously, if we were able to get the 7th overall pick, I mean, that looks really nice. The Vikings getting the 20th overall pick, I do like that option, getting 18, having 18 already, and then getting 20, and then picking up the 112th. If we don't have to get rid of a pick, though, I know we pick up the 112th and the 4th and get an extra first rounder. Trade option number 2 for me is probably my favorite in this scenario, from what you guys have.
Yeah, the one that I think is most enticing. The one that I have the most enticing would be getting into the top 10 because that automatically opens the door for Jeremiah Love, for Sonny Styles now, who's evidently a top 12 guy. And then I don't know if this Caleb Downs thing continues to slide, like if there's injury concerns, the Vikings might be able to get him organically. But It would be cool if they want to swing big to get Jeremiah Love or Sonny Styles. I think those would be the targets if they traded up to 7.
Sure. All right, let's go ahead and jump on to the next one that I want to talk about. I want to talk about some of these combine crushes. Is there anybody on this list that you're looking at that you're saying, hey, they stood out for me? And now I know that Dylan Thieneman had a great 40 time, so that was, and some of the numbers that he put up was good. Bryce Lance put up good numbers as well too. But is there anybody that really just stood out from the combine that's either on this list, not on this list? The names that are on this list are names that have been tied to the Vikings in the first few rounds. So that's kind of why I have them on here, is, they've been thrown out as options. But is there anybody that really stands out that just from the combine maybe improved their draft value that you're like, looking at you a little bit different now as far as a draft option?
There are a couple, but there are 2. Dylan Thieneman, you'd be strange not to bring that one up on a show like this. I mean, he ran that 40. I don't even remember what it was, but it was so fast. Let's face it, he's white. He shouldn't be able to run that fast, but he's doing it anyway.
Both Oregon boys. Sadiq was great too.
Yeah. So the fact that we are looking to replace Harrison Smith and Thieneman could be staring you in the face at 18, that is tempting. And then my other shout out here, because I want the Vikings to draft a running back, is to Mike Washington. Mike Washington, I wouldn't say is like under the radar, but for him to run at his size, the 40 that he did, like 4.37 or 4.38, whatever it was, he has like the measurables of Saquon Barkley and like Bo Jackson type stuff we're talking about right now. And for now, he's just an ordinary old 3rd rounder. So Mike Washington, that's probably why he was balling in Indianapolis, is because he knew that he had raised his draft stock. I would recommend Vikings fans, if we assume they're not going to be able to get Jeremiah Love, to peek at Mike Washington, because usually when you run a 40 that fast, you got to be kind of a smaller back, or you got to be a wide receiver. But this guy is like built, he's big, and he's fast. So Mike Washington, if the Vikings do draft a running back, and then Thieneman, because a safety need is not going to be able to ignore it for too much longer.
Right. And we'll see if any of these other guys, decide to have big pro days and throw out some big numbers as well too, because that's still to come for some of these guys. Also, Northfia says too many like Kyler Murray. I just can't see it. I'm not gonna go away. Like, I'm warming up to it, but I'm not gonna go away from all of the options that we have at quarterback are not great this offseason. There's no savior. There's no franchise quarterback that's just staring us in the face. I just think for the price being released at the vet minimum, Kyler Murray is the best option that's available, that also not only can provide an added boost in the offensive department. He's got experience. He's got crazy athleticism. Yes, he's not maybe the greatest fit for the Kevin O'Connell offense. He's going to have to shift a little bit. But the fact of the matter is he's cheap. We have nothing to lose with it in doing the move. And with the Kyler Murray option, again, I just think with the money, and if he does work out with some of the other quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, what future do you have with quarterbacks like that? They are stopgap, older quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, he's still young. If he does pan out, you can still keep him on this team. And that's the only reason why I think he is a better and maybe the best option for us right now at this position. All right, so now we're going to move on to our next topic that I have for you, and that is going to be your mock draft. So we did it last time with 3 rounds in the mock draft. If you want to do trades, you absolutely can. I did modify it this time to where it should be a better look for us this time. And let's go ahead and now we can see the screen maybe a little bit better, and I'm gonna get a better zoom in for you. I'm gonna make sure I select the Vikings. 3 rounds.
I get my comp pick in this simulator, don't I?
I believe so. Yes, yep. On 97. Yep. And can you see this good the way that it is?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you have the first pick in the draft. We're going to go ahead and start it and see where you got. So first pick at 18. Whew. So what we had go off the board.
Do we remember what I did last time?
I feel like you went Kenyon Sadiq here. Oh, so okay. Thieneman, who we like, is already off the board at 11. Downs, of course, even with some of the injury concerns, he's off the board at 10. Sadiq's already gone at 13. Jermod McCoy is gone at 16, and then Lemon just went off the board at 17. So some of the positions that you have out there, Caleb Banks has been mocked to us before as well. CJ Allen is starting to also be mocked to us. Jordan Tyson's available. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, Avion Terrell for some of those individuals that have been mocked to us at 18. There are some trade options that you have as well too that are in here. If you'd like to trade back, the very first one that's optional on here is the Cleveland Browns at 24, and then Cincinnati at 41.
And what do I get from the Browns?
If you did something with the Browns at 24, they got 18. Probably the best that we could do with them is probably get 24 and 70. No. Well, I mean, they don't have a proposal in here, but
yeah, my fault.
You can see that they're interested in here.
Yes,
but we could get 24 and 70.
Yeah, see if they'll do that, and then we got to accept your cookies.
Oh my gosh! Stop it! All right, so offer trade. What are we doing here?
Oh, they're gonna try to make you pay for it. That's what.
Oh no, because I do. Oh my gosh! Hold on one second. Let me log in. Apparently, it logged me out. As I'm sharing my info on here. All right.
Well, you can't show Brosmer's heinous PFF grades on here. What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing, right? All right, let's go back. I have to start this over now. Sorry about that. Okay.
Maybe I'll get an even better pick.
All right. Well, we still have more of the same. So Makai Lemon still went off the board, but Matsur Delane dropped all the way to 16 in this one. But you're looking at Caleb Banks again, still staring you down, and the same names still at this point. As far as trade options, the earliest one you have this time is the New England Patriots at 31.
Oh, okay. No, thanks. I don't want to get bogged down in a crazy special where I lose on a premium pick. On this board, I saw this stat from Football Insights that suggested Caleb Banks is not a good run stopper, and that freaked the hell out of me. And I think for the purposes of that, I'm going to listen here. Go down just a little bit. Make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. Is Peter Woods still on here?
He is. He's down here.
He's already fallen. Man, his combine did not go well for him. Believe it or not, on this board, you're probably gonna be grossed out, but I'm gonna take Jordan Tyson. Because of the established fact that Addison could be a trade chip because he can't keep his nose clean. I would take Jordan Tyson here.
All right. We're going to go ahead and bounce all the way down to pick number 49. And we picked a receiver and somebody that has been mocked to us. Keith Abney went off the board. Also, Jacob Rodriguez, who people have liked. And D'Angelo Pons is now off the board as well, too. And Brandon Sissy. So some of these names, Lee Hunter as well, are already off the board. But somebody who has been mocked to us lately, Chris Johnson, cornerback of San Diego State, is still on the board. He and Jadarian Price, who's also been mocked to us, are still available on this board.
All right, go up to the very top. I would love to take Jadarian Price here, but I don't think I can just keep going offense. I'll take Chris Johnson, cornerback there.
All right. And what's interesting is the last time that we did this is some of these names, like after the combine, there's been some adjustment for sure in some of these mocks to where you're seeing names go a lot earlier or later, depending on the name. All right.
Yeah,
so
this Roush dude must have climbed because.
Yep, absolutely. And we just saw, even Garrett Nussmeier going up. But Connor Liu, he went off the board here just a little bit ago. He's been a name that's been thrown around to us at the center position as well, too. Your Mike Washington Jr. is now off the board also.
I would like an inside linebacker here. Is there one that... No, we're getting too far down, damn it.
So there's Anthony Hill Jr.,
Hill.
And I think that's, hold on one second. I can get to position here. So you're pretty much looking at Anthony Hill, Keyshawn Elliott, Deontay Lawson, and Bryce Buckner.
Okay. Can you go make sure that at running back that my guy, Nicholas Singleton, might be there for the taking?
Oh, I think you're talking about Washington, Mike Washington.
No, Nick Singleton.
Oh, Nick Singleton. All right, hold on.
Is he on here? Or did he get got?
Let me get rid of.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
He's still on here. He's average draft position is at 123, so you still have another pick at 97 here as well. Okay. Jonah Coleman is still on the board, and so is Emmett Johnson.
Okay, I'm gonna get my running back at 97. All right, go back to the big board real quick of all positions, and then go down a couple. I think I'm going to do Jake Slaughter here as the center of the future.
All right. Jake Slaughter. So just a quick check at your picks. You went Jordan Tyson at wide receiver. You went Chris Johnson at cornerback and Jake Slaughter at center. And on to your next pick at 97, who just went off the board, was Deontay Lawson, and Malachi Fields also just went off the board. Those are kind of some of the main names. Drew Aller's now off the board as well, too. Jonah Coleman at running back is still on the board. Bryce Lance, who had a big draft, is still on the board as well, too, but you've already taken a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. I think if I were in charge here, I would draft Dante Corleone here and then try to get back into round 4 for my running back. But we don't have the leverage to do that, so I will take Jonah Coleman falling to 97. And this probably isn't realistic because it's very offensive.
But, you know what? A lot of people, the first time we were doing these drafts, Jordan Tyson, his average draft position early on before the combine was around 14. And a lot of people were saying, hey, if Jonah Coleman is around at 18, you got to take him. So that's interesting that he's potentially going to be in that spot. And, how comfortable do we feel at the wide receiver position at wide receiver number 3? How excited really are we about Ty Felton? So Chris Johnson at cornerback, Jake Slaughter at center, the center of the future. And if you're drafting in round 3, and if we're not taking somebody free agency, I'm probably expecting Jake Slaughter to come in and maybe start. Jonah Coleman in round 3 at 97. I don't think he has to start right away. And I think this is a situation where we could still take somebody like an ETN. Mason's only around for another year on his contract. So that is a possibility where if you were to bring in like an ETN or something like that, I don't think that you are in a weird position where you brought in Coleman, but you also took an ETN. I still think you can do something like that. Your thoughts on your draft? And what are your guys' thoughts as listeners? Oh, you're on mute right now, Dustin. I think you muted yourself.
Oh, I did not. I don't think I even was remotely close to that, but I would say that my draft is unrealistic because if this was going to be 3-1 position split, defense, offense, it would probably be the inverse this go around, depending on what happens in free agency. But I do like this because you have guys that should compete for playing time right away. And, you always like your own mock draft, but I think the Jordan Tyson pick, if he's there, he basically starts the clock over. You'll have 5 years team control. And then if you did get in the mood to trade Jordan Addison, then you wouldn't have to panic because you'd have Tyson there and then whatever you got from Addison as gravy. And then I will keep saying, no matter, we got 6.5 weeks for the draft. You got to get your running back, your young running back. I don't know why this is such a controversial take. The last time the Vikings even remotely tried this, besides Dwayne McBride, was Alexander Madison or Ty Chandler, and those just haven't worked out. And I don't want the Vikings to transform into a run-first Zimmer-like team, but I want them to run the ball at like the 15th, 14th most clip in the NFL because they do it efficiently. So I really want them to draft a running back worth a damn.
No, I can't blame you there. I mean, yeah, I mean, when you say it's unrealistic, I do see us taking a defensive player here, unless it's Sadiq, probably in round 1. I think he's probably the only offensive player, but Jordan Tyson, who knows? Maybe they, like you said, I mean, that could be a possibility, but I do think it's Sadiq as far as the offensive player goes. Other than that, I do think that we're heavy in the cornerback, defensive lineman, or safety position for that first pick. Round 2 is still, a decent position where we can pick up a corner. It seemed like every mock draft I've done, there's been at least a decent corner option in round 2. So there's that, when you're looking at the corner position. So unless it's Mansour Delane, I think that we can probably wait until round 2 to pick up somebody like that. And I do like some of the options that we have, like a Pat Coogan that's still out there at center, or maybe a little bit later. I think Connor Liu went a little bit before Jonah Coleman. So, I mean, he's in that weird gap to where if you don't take like a Jake Slaughter or Connor Liu there at 82, maybe you miss out and you're having to wait until round 4 or 5 to pick up like a I'm trying to think of his name out of Iowa. There's an Iowa center as well, too. That's a really good one out there. And then Pat Coogan from Indiana. So, I mean, there's a couple different options out there where you can wait because, maybe we need a linebacker, depending on what happens in free agency as well, too. And then we still got to think about somewhere in this draft. We got to think about safety.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, this is only 3 rounds, though. I mean, we didn't do a full mock draft. And you're right, somewhere in here, I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel like we have to go out and get, Jadarian Price has been one of those running backs that's been mocked to us a lot too. I don't know how much, I'm on board with, Emmett, being that option. It depends if we keep Jordan Mason. I feel like they're similar type backs, to where that doesn't maybe jive as well. And that's kind of why I like ETN is he's the opposite. He's kind of like Aaron Jones was to Jordan Mason. They do different things, and I think that's the kind of back that the NFL is going towards, to where you kind of need 2 of those backs, unless you got somebody that can do everything.
Yeah, the Emmett Johnson thing, that was really bittersweet because we got the news like Wednesday or Thursday of the combine that he had met with the Vikings. We're like, sweet, they care about a running back. And then like the next day he ran his 4.56, and we're like, oh, come on. Like,
Yep.
oh man, I mean that's like really slow for an RB1. What are we thinking?
Right. So I mean, I think we need a running back that has that breakaway speed. I just don't know if
Yeah.
he's going to be able to be that guy. But overall, I think good drafts, a lot of good insight that you gave us on the free agency, uh, uptick that's
Thank
going
you.
to be coming. I mean, make sure that if you're not already following Dustin, like I mentioned before, make sure that you do that at Dust Baker. It's going to get crazy next week. So make sure you're following myself too at Steve Hoikkala, and then also at Vikings Playbook. Make sure that you're going ahead and just subscribing. And if you like to read, Dustin's got a couple books. He's got one that's about to come out, and then you can also go check out the Motor Route, catch up on that, and his new book that's coming out. I'm sure that we'll have Dustin on again and be able to promote that one as well. And then stay tuned. We may have Kyler Murray news sometime next week as well too. And it's just going to get lively. It just really is. Next week is going to be pretty crazy. Even just March 9th through the 11th in 2 days, we're going to start to hear a lot of rumors as far as basically what's going to happen on the 11th. So we're going to hear a lot of that stuff too. So, now we can stop hearing the revolving door at quarterback from major media as far as who they want to talk about or clickbait that day. I think we're going to get a solidified answer come by Wednesday. I feel like we should have a deal done as far as who's going to come in at quarterback as a veteran.
Yeah, I think we'll know. My guess is Monday. We might even have a good indication tomorrow. Like, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
Schefter or somebody tweets, but I think by Monday, Tuesday, we'll know if it's Kyler or if it's not.
Right.
And then, yeah, for anybody that's new to this process, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the red meat of your roster building and free agency, it happens. They can't like put ink to paper until Wednesday, but that doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to know who's going where 11 a.m. Monday. So,
Absolutely. Hey, thanks so much for joining us again, Dustin Baker, editor over at VikingsTerritory.com. Check out everything that they're writing there over at Vikings Territory, and check out our sister website as well, purpleptsd.com. Check out what I'm writing about and some of our other great writers at both of these websites. Appreciate you guys so much. If you're not only already following Vikings Playbook, follow us on X, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And then, of course, your Sunday always starts here with the Vikings Playbook. Please join us every Saturday at 9 p.m., and that's Central Standard Time. So thank you so much. Skol Vikings. We'll see you next time on the Vikings Playbook.